You are about to discover something that is going to change your painting life forever. And there's nobody better to teach it than Mary Garrish. Mary, what are you going to do today?
Well, I'm going to teach a process that I would imagine that a lot of people haven't seen before. And it's basically the art of scumbling.
Scumbling.
Yes, which means I'm going to mix up an opaque tone of paint and totally cover the canvas. And so it should be very exciting. Usually when I do this in workshops, I get a big wow. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for today.
Well, I'll bet you also get a big, when they first see you do it, because it probably, you put all that work into that beautiful painting and then all of a sudden, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it is so much fun to see that reaction. So I won't be able to see it today, but I'll keep my fingers crossed that that's what we're doing.
Well, I'll be reading the comments as people join in and maybe talking about where people are coming in from. We got viewers from all over the world now. So why don't we get right to it? Let's get started.
All right.
All right. Terrific. Okay. So you want to move your camera in? What do you want to do? You want me to show an image, don't you?
Yes, it's you can either show the image or it's the painting that I have on the easel.
Well, let me show it first, a close-up.
Okay.
All right. And now everybody's seeing it. Now we'll go back and you can talk about it.
Okay. So I'll kind of scoot it in here a little bit.
All right.
So this painting, the reason I wanted to show it is that I started this in a very playful way. It is, and when I do that, it's usually I'm looking to change things up. I'm like in a rut. I'm frustrated with my paintings or something. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to play. So this surface is actually aluminum for those of you who have never painted on aluminum. And this is the product. It's called Alumicon, and you can get it, online from any of the big.
Mary.
Yes.
Is that actually got an aluminum finish on it, or has it got a panel on top of it?
This is just the protection for the aluminum panel, and you just pull it off. It's got two sides. One side is very smooth, and the other side, which is the side I like, has a nice tooth to it. So when you get it, you just peel the plastic off and you paint on the surface. So
yeah.
You can see it's a very reflective surface.
Yeah, so it's going to, if you use transparent paint, it's going to really glow from behind.
Absolutely.
Oh, how exciting.
It really is very exciting. And for those of you who haven't tried it, I would definitely buy at least, 3-4 panels because, it takes a while when you're using a new surface to really get the hang of it. So what I did with this when I started out, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. I just wanted to play with paint. About a year ago, I'd been to a Larry Moore workshop on abstraction, and that really kind of changed the way a lot of times I approach my paintings, trying to think much more abstractly. So with this painting, I decided I wanted to mix up a bunch of yellow tones, and I used Adobe and CAD yellow light, and transparent red oxide and yellow ochre, so really heavy on the yellows. And then I added some wax to that, cold wax, which is a Gamblin product, and that just gives a lot of texture to the paint. And then I used my trusty brayer, which I learned to use at the Larry Moore workshop. And this is just a great way to kind of abstractly, put in a lot of paint pretty rapidly. And so it's, you have to do big shapes. And so I was just putting in some abstract big shapes, some whites and darks. And then when I did that, I decided I was going to take saran wrap. And I put saran wrap on the painting, just kind of willy-nilly lifted it off. And then I went to the back of my studio and I started looking at the painting. It was initially horizontal, and I looked at it. I'm like, I don't really see any great patterns there or anything.
So you had no reference photo. You had nothing in mind. You just wanted to see what would happen.
Exactly.
How fun.
I was hoping for some kind of a revelation.
Yeah.
And so then I put it vertical, and I started seeing tree patterns with really nice sculpted sky holes and everything. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go with, a tree painting. And then originally this was going to be a ground plane. And I decided it had, from the saran wrap, it had so many nice different shapes and textures that I thought, oh gosh, we're going to go with the reflection into the water. And that's one of the things that I really like aluminum. It really helps to give that kind of reflective feel.
Cool.
Okay, so that being said, I just wanted to tell everybody that when you get to that point where you're feeling frustrated, you don't know what to do, just play. And so now I'm going to go ahead and scumble a painting. I painted this painting specifically for this demo.
Okay. I'm just going to step in real quickly and just say hi to everybody. I'm Eric Rhoads, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazine. This is Chewy. Say hi, Chewy. Hello, Mary. And today is day number 293. We started at the beginning of coronavirus quarantine, and here we are, 293. We're here every day at 12 noon, and we're here every day at 3 p.m. giving samples of art instruction videos. All right, Mary, I've done my announcements now. Back to you.
Okay, so as I said, I painted this painting specifically so that I would give you guys a good feel for what happens when you scumble a painting. So there are a lot of things I like about this painting, but I made the sky color far too saturated, at least for my taste. Some people might like more saturation. For this particular thing, I would like it to be moodier. And so what the scumbling will do is it will bring the values closer together. So the darks will become lighter and the lights will become darker.
Mary, question for you. Do you typically try to accomplish what you want in the painting itself, or do you always assume you're going to do scumbling?
Oh, no, I don't scumble that often. Probably the paintings I scumble more frequently are the ones that I'm trying to get a certain mood. And then the second painting that I'm going to scumble, it's an ocean scene. And there's just no way I could get the same moody, silvery effect on the water without scumbling. I mean, there might be better artists out there that could, but me, I like to rely for different types of moods, should I say.
Mary, there are no better artists than you. What can I say? And by the way, I should mention to everybody that after you watch this, go over to the Plein Air podcast and listen to the podcast. Mary's story is fascinating.
Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate that.
All right.
Okay, so I'll get to scumbling. So scumbling is with an opaque tone, which means, you can't see through it, as opposed to glazing, which is more transparent. So I've mixed up a tone. It's kind of a ochre orange tone, and I'm just going to totally, very quickly cover this canvas. You use a lot of liquid in with it, and the painting has to be totally dry. Otherwise, you're just going to get smear art. Okay.
All right. And what is the surface that your painting is on?
This is linen on gator board.
Okay.
So, all right.
Oh my goodness, she's ruining it. No.
So you see, this is an awful lot of fun. And I would suggest that everybody out there, if you want to try it, get out your old canvases that you feel were failures and just play mixing up different tones and just covering the canvas, and then see what kind of mood you've invoked.
Mary, I have a question.
Yes.
Somebody's making comments in your name. Somebody said under your name that good morning. Do you have somebody doing comments for you?
No.
Oh, that's weird. Because they're going to think this is pre-recorded.
Oh, that's funny.
Huh.
Not, at least not that I know of.
Well, maybe you have a secret admirer.
Maybe
There's another Mary Garrish.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I pretty much got that covered. Okay, so
that's a lot thicker than I would have ever guessed.
Yeah, so now's the fun part. It's kind of the revelation.
You don't wear gloves?
Oh, sometimes I do.
You're a former doctor. I thought for sure you'd be doing that.
I got tired of wearing them. Okay. So see, what you do is you wipe, like I'm probably going to wipe more out in the light of the sky here. I'm just going to leave a very thin coat of it because I like that very grayed yellow sky up there. But
Yeah.
So here, what you're going to get is you're going to get these warm and cool vibrations. And so see, what that's done to our cloud there is it has harmonized it. It has taken the darks, it's made them just probably a half a value lighter. And the lights, it has made them just a little bit darker.
Yeah, so, and you used a complementary color, right? Because your clouds are purple.
Yes.
Was that the intent?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't really the whole idea of the complements. It's just really where I wanted to take it. I really wanted kind of like a orange haze over the cloud.
Yeah.
Now,
you know what would happen if you used purple?
Purple on
purple haze.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
true.
I'm going back to my Woodstock days.
Okay, so now I'm going to come back in with some warmer tones.
Somebody asked a question. Could this be used with watercolor?
Oh, you know what? I've never really used watercolor, but I'm not sure.
I'll bet, it would be interesting if you wanted to try putting oil over watercolor to scumble an oil over that. You could probably create the effect that way. Somebody will know the answer in the comments.
Yes, especially some of your watercolorists. So see, now I'm just going back in and I'm kind of redefining the highlights because, you kind of lose some of them.
Is that an Indian yellow?
No, actually it's cad orange and yellow ochre and white.
Okay.
And so now as we get away from it, it's going to cool down a little bit, get more pinks instead of all the oranges.
Okay. I want to remind everybody to leave your questions, but also tell us where you're watching from, especially if you're outside of the US. And we have a prize today of a digital edition of Plein Air Magazine, a whole year subscription. And so go ahead and put your comments in and you might win that prize. Also coming up, today is day 293. Coming up, we got a big celebration of 300 days. You don't want to miss that one.
That's remarkable, Eric.
Yes, thank you. I really intended to do this for 2 weeks. I thought we'd be in quarantine for 2 weeks.
Well, I think we all thought that. And here we are almost a year later.
Yep. Somebody says you can put a wash over a watercolor painting to change the main colors.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
All right.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and kind of increase the darks because I've lost a lot of the darks in the foreground here.
Okay. I want everybody to pay attention to how Mary's holding her brush. You want to talk about that?
Yes. So it is not a pencil. And so, if you hold it like this, you're going to choke up and you're not going to get really nice artistic strokes. So if you hold it more like a baton, then, you know, you've got a much wider range of motion, and you're more likely to have more artistic, original brush strokes.
Okay.
So,
And somebody asked, you're painting in oil or acrylic? You're painting in oil, right?
yes, it is oil. Okay, so I've redefined some of the darks there, and I'm going to just kind of establish my line here a little bit.
You're blocking the camera.
Oh, sorry. Getting my nose in it. Okay, and so now I'm going to come in with the ground plane here. So as far as the scumble goes, I can paint into this as much as I want or as little. I could have left this whole thing just kind of moody and scumbled without redefining, and it would have been a different painting. But that's really not what I'm after. So I'm going in and, you know, repainting some of it. Now, once this all dries, I may come in and scumble over it again with the same tone or a different tone, just trying to, you know, it's a push and pull.
Okay.
And then if I don't like this, since the painting underneath it was dry, I can just put this in some Gamsol and wipe all the paint off of it, and I'll be back to my original painting.
All right.
So there's really nothing lost. So I would encourage everybody, you know, to play around with this. So I'm going to leave that just right here right now, and I'm going to start a different painting.
Okay. What is the dark color that you used? Somebody wanted to know.
That is basically Cad Red Light and ultramarine and a little bit of white and maybe just a touch of Cad Yellow just to kind of neutralize it a little bit.
Okay. Hello to the United Kingdom, Sussex. Hello to Ireland. Hello to Italy. Let's see, who else? Make sure that's why British Columbia, Idaho Falls, that's kind of like a foreign country. South Africa. Somebody's going to yell at me now. They're going to send me a rude comment because I was nasty. Okay. That's why I like to have you guys put where you're from. Then I can tell everybody. Munich.
All right.
Hello, Munich. Wie geht's? Hello, Christine Hagen. All right. This is fun. Alaska, Homer, Alaska.
Wow.
We have artists all over the world watching. This is so much fun. And people who are new to this also. Okay, what are we going to do here?
Okay, so this right here was, I did a little plein air study down on the beach, and I kind of like the design of it. I like the energy of it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this, I'm going to enlarge it, but I'm going to try different color palettes. So okay. I wanted to go with something neutral, and I used a palette. I used ochre, cobalt, and like Venetian red to start with it. So because I wanted to get a lot of pretty grays.
All right.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover this whole thing just like I did the other one with a little bit more of a yellow tone because I really like these yellow harmonies in here. But I want this cloud, I want the values closer together and to have it more of a solid form. And then all of that, when I scumble it, will translate down into the water. I also don't like the way the tops of these waves, it's just too broken up. So that will help to bring it all together because the lights will get darker and the darks will get lighter when you scumble. So,
hey, Mary, do me a favor.
Yes.
We have a very special guest watching, Angela from Italy. It's her birthday. Would you say happy birthday to Angela?
Ciao, Angela. Happy birthday.
All right, good. You speak Italian.
Oh, yeah, right. I wish. I actually tried to learn on Duolingo Italian, but when I would go to Italy, I guess my Italian was so bad that all the Italians would just speak to me in English, so I quit studying.
Well, at least you tried.
I did try.
Hello, Australia. Hello, New Brunswick. Hello, Norway.
I'm part Australian. My mom was from Australia.
Outstanding.
Okay, this is I just love this part of it. It is.
It's fun.
It is the discovery.
Don't ruin it.
Well, remember, you can't ruin it because the paint is dry. So if you put this tone on and you don't like it, just wipe it all off.
Hello, Bulgaria.
Wow.
Man. Now, you guys do us a favor and either like or share. That way your friends will see it and they'll discover us too. This is a big, giant secret.
Okay, so you guys can see this is really pretty opaque.
Yep. Hello, Hazel in New Zealand.
Okay.
Okay, Judith is asking, is there somewhere we can ask general questions? Judith, just put it in the comments and I'll try to pass them on. And also, Mary will come back in sometime tonight after the replays and start answering questions.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, so now comes the discovery. And it's a big ochre blob.
It's a foggy day.
It's a very foggy day. And really, there are some paintings, sometimes you don't know, when you're experimenting, you have to take things too far to know how far you can take something.
Right.
And so as Scott Christensen says, you've got to be willing to lose your best work to, improve on your artwork.
Somebody asked, could you also scumble by placing the paint on the rag and wiping over the canvas with a rag?
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter.
You can also spot scumble, right?
Sure, absolutely. So I might come back in, after I've kind of repainted some of the areas and say, you know what? I liked it better when this was a flatter cloud without the lights and the darks. So, there's no end to how many layers of scumble that you can put on it.
Here's a question. Have you ever had a problem with the paint scraping off easily going over an older painting that has been reworked like this? Sometimes I find the surface becomes fragile.
Not really. What comes to mind is maybe just a palette knife painting, where the paint was very thick. But other than that, I don't think I've ever had a problem with it.
All right. There are a lot of people who tuned in late. She's mixed her paint. It's opaque paint. It's usually a yellow with a white, or this case it is, plus some liquid.
Yeah, lots and lots.
A painting medium.
Okay. So now I really like the way the sky looks. I really like that effect on the sky. I like the way that we've got some lost edges here because the light got a little darker and the darks got lighter, which is, one of the effects of the scumble. And it's really brought some color harmony to the painting. So now the question is, where should I take it from here? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to redefine some of the highlights in the sky here. I'm not sure I'm going to do anything with the darker part of the cloud. I kind of like the vibration that's going on.
Question, would it work with Gamvar, which is a varnish?
I haven't used Gamvar. I think that the varnish part, like if I want to do this many times to scumble over it, I would worry about putting the varnish there and it drying and cracking as you have multiple layers. So I'm not sure of that, but I would be worried about that. Okay, so
Ina is asking, where do I find the podcast? If you go to outdoorpainter.com, or if you just search Plein Air Podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc., you'll find it in there. And search Mary Garrish. Mary, do you have it on your website?
I believe so. I have a nice young woman who's a stay-at-home mom who does my website for me. So I'm pretty sure she's got a link to it there.
Okay, she's probably the one commenting because she put your website in the comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably. Hi, Mallory.
Hi, Mallory. Oh, I'm loving that.
Well, thank you.
You know, I don't say this very often, but I have one of your paintings in my extensive collection.
You've got it right next to the Vermeer, right?
I do, yes. How'd you know? I actually met a man recently, and he told me he was an art collector. I said, what's the highlight of your collection? He said, I have a Vermeer. and he was totally serious.
Wow. Okay, so like this highlight here, it's just sticking out to me. So I'm going to soften the edges with my nice little handy paper towel.
All things can be tools.
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, too often my my fingers are my tools.
Somebody asked, Sam asked, could you use, or somebody asked, could you use tools other than liquid? That's Donna.
Yeah, you know, I think that probably Neo McGilp would work fine. You know, both of those, the nice thing is they make the paint dry quicker. And so like tomorrow, I could probably come back in if I wanted to just totally rescumble if, you know, if my lights weren't too thick and repaint it, you know, because like I said, it has to be a totally dry surface to do this technique on. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, you just get a big
I think you could use a gel medium too. You could use something like Gamblin has a gel medium, or Rubloff, or what do they call it? Oleo gel.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of variations on that. I think you could use some of those.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get some nice vibrations going on in the sky here. You know, with the light bouncing around.
Yep. Hello, Norway. Hello, Scotland.
And so see this pinker tone here.
You're starting to cover your, there we go.
Sorry, this pinker tone here.
Hard to paint sideways, isn't it?
It is. It's really hard to, you know, get in there. But so see, this pinker tone is the same value as the more yellow tone. And so what that's going to do, it's going to allow this whole shape here to stay together as one shape. Okay, we don't want to break it up too much. And so what I'm going to do now is probably come down into the where the sky meets the ocean.
Here's a question. It says, I've painted over paintings that are completely dry and found the paint would scrape off easily with my fingernail after months of drying. I would like to know what causes that. It's your fingernail.
I would have to agree with you there, Eric. Okay, so as this develops, you know, what I like a lot about the scumbling are kind of all the lost edges. So the question is, how much do you want to redefine the edges, and how many of them do you want to leave as just lost? So, and you know, that's part of it's just your personal taste.
Somebody said they've heard that liquid cannot be removed once dry years later if they want to clean a painting. But you wouldn't want that to be removed.
Well, and I mean, in what I've seen is just using Gam salt, you can get most of it off.
Okay.
So,
But if you're, but 100 years from now, if you're varnish yellows, then you want the varnish to be able to be taken off, but not necessarily the painting medium.
right. So I like, I think it was at the Plein Air Convention. Kwang Ho was talking, and he was asked by somebody, I think it was one of those fat over lean questions. And his answer was, well, if one of my paintings, if it yellows or something, he goes, if it's still here in 100 years, I guess that they'll pay to have a professional restorer take care of it. So, okay, so I'm going to go back into some of these darks here and kind of hit them again. And so when I'm doing this, I try to make every brush stroke a little unique and different. The other thing with this painting is I was pretty much going for 1/3 light and 2/3 dark.
Okay.
You know,
How do you make those decisions? Do you make that when you first start it?
Well, okay, this is another, okay, so this is how I kind of started that painting that's behind it. So I did this with the 3 Portland Grays by Gamblin.
Mm-hmm.
They have a Portland Gray Light, Portland Gray Medium, and a Portland Gray Dark. And so this was the dark, that's the light, and here are the medium tones in there. So when I did this painting, it's just so much easier to see the design if you take the color out of it, and you're basically just doing a grayscale.
Yeah,
and
a value study.
Yes. And, you know, you don't have to do it big like this. I just did this, you know, for the demonstration and everything. But, you know, if you take like a 12 by 16 or 11 by 14 and basically break it down into, you know, like 6 smaller paintings, that's a great way to get a lot of work done on design. And these Portland Grays are just so nice and easy. So,
hey Mary.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Hold that up. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay, so these are the Portland Grays, right out of the tube. Okay, so here are the Portland Grays, but I've added white to, well, it's the first 2. I didn't even use the dark one because I wanted high key. And so I added white to the lightest one, and then white to the middle one, and then that's the middle one. So that would be a nice high key painting. And then there's a low key painting. You know, this was the middle tone. This was a little bit of white added to the darkest Portland Gray, and then that's the darkest Portland Gray. So it's nice to take this scene and do you know, a middle tone, a high key, and a low key, small little paintings of the scene, and see which way you want it to go.
So what are you going to do next on this?
Okay. So next on this, I'm going to redefine the highlights. So those are the things that you tend to, well, first I'm going to finish my darks in here. I'm going to put a few more. And so the highlights and the darks are the ones that you tend to lose the most,
right,
when you stumble. So we'll go back in and redefine some of them.
That looks like a purplish tone.
It is. It is probably cad red light, ultramarine, and tiny bit of white, and probably a little bit of yellow.
Okay. Oh, somebody would like what does it mean, high key or low key?
Okay, so on a value scale, this is right out of the tube, the Portland Grays. This is probably like a 3, maybe a 6, and an 8. And so high key means that the tones are lighter. So this range here is probably more like a 2, a 4, and a 5. And then the low key are the darker ranges. So this would probably be more like a 5, a 7, and an 8. So while you guys were on your break there, I went ahead and I've worked some purpley tones, yellow and purple, nice complements there. And so I've worked some cooler purpley tones in to kind of resonate back and forth, kind of into my scumble. And so typically what I'll do is I'll play around like that. I'll leave it. And then I might decide, well, I think it's too much purple. I might come back tomorrow and rescumble over the surface.
Okay.
So that's basically what I've done there. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the grayscale painting just to show you what you can do with like a phthalo tone, certainly neutralized because phthalo is so saturated. And I think I used Indian red. So now I'm going to just cover this with the phthalo tone and see if we get like the feel of a nocturne.
I love all the play.
Yes, we're just playing around. And now I have to tell you, Eric, that this is my favorite color.
Your favorite color?
Yeah, as far as like what I like to wear. I live in Florida.
Yeah.
So this is just a Florida color.
Yeah, I call that bathwater green.
Now, when I mixed this up, it was fun. I grayed it with the transparent red oxide. And so, it's its complement, transparent red oxide obviously has a lot of red in it.
Hey, do you have a bottle of liquid right there? Because somebody asked to show the bottle so they can see it. Hold it still. Hold it a little closer to the camera. Okay, right there. Hold still. Liquid Original from Winsor Newton. Okay, there you go. Good. Right. And by the way, it's not stumble, it's scumble. SCUMBLE. Yes. Anybody want to try it?
Yeah, and if you try to type that in, it will autocorrect.
Yeah, that's right. Hello, Bulgaria. Romania. Welcome. We love having you here.
Awesome. Okay, so we've pretty much got, and that was just the 3 Portland grays under there. So it's not like, I spent a lot of time painting that.
Now, do you use an older brush that you don't mind ruining for scumbling? Because somebody said they cringe using a good brush.
Well, certainly you can use the cheap brushes. You can use anything. You can, use the cheap brushes from Home Depot, because it's not exactly like you're, doing delicate work. Okay, so see, I can tell I really like that tone.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it just gives the feeling of nighttime.
Yeah, so that's a phthalo green mixed with a little transparent red oxide and white.
Yes. And so it just, I just love the effect of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you put the two side by side, you can just see, you'll be able to see how you basically take the same painting and you've created 2 different feels. Hard to see that. But yeah, really nice. Okay, let's let you continue. You've got about maybe 10, 12 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now that I've got this kind of nocturnish kind of feel, I'm going to wipe out probably with just a little turpentine and get back some of the darks down here in the foreground. I haven't taken it all off down here, but just probably 90% of it.
And do you want to talk about darks and how they recede? Darks going forward?
So your darkest darks should be in the foreground. And then as you recede, you can see some darks here, but they're lighter in value.
Right.
So as you recede, like even with the sky, so you can tell, this cloud is much darker than these clouds back here. So they're receding into the distance. So the further away, the lights get darker and the darks get lighter, which is the same thing that happens when you scumble.
All right. Terrific.
And that's what gives you the aerial perspective feeling. And then also the colors in the foreground, this is very much a grade painting, but the colors in the foreground should be more saturated and darker than in the distance.
All right.
So, and typically too, the other thing with aerial perspective is color. So, the three colors, primary colors are yellow, red, and blue. And so the first color to drop off with aerial perspective as you go back in the distance is yellow.
Right. Okay, good.
Then the second is red. So that's why, like the Smoky Mountains, with distance, it just looks blue.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to come in and I'm going to try to, put some interest in the sky here. And I basically took the color that I used to scumble, and I added a little bit of cadmium lemon light and white. And so I'm going to come in here kind of right off center and start painting into this with some lighter values. Somebody
said they were a little bit afraid to try this because they don't know their mediums. I think a good way to do that is just make up some small panels with a little dummy painting and then just practice using different mediums.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's so much fun, especially if you just take old paintings. That's when I teach a workshop. I tell people, bring some old paintings to the workshop that you don't like, and let's start playing with them. I mean, what do you have to lose? Most people just, stick them in the garbage and throw them out. So, and that way, if you have an old painting, you don't have anything invested,
right,
and you're not afraid to play.
Good idea.
Okay, so this is that same tone that I put in here, but with some blue added to it. So that, the further away we get from the light source, which is around in here, the cooler it gets. So see here, I'm actually kind of using the way I'm laying the paint in, I'm almost kind of scumbling the paint in here too, just to give it that lost edge feeling, just very gently. The other thing with the skies, vertical strokes are really nice. Like everybody, when they go to paint clouds, they're always, trying to make them all horizontal. If you look into the sky, there's a lot of verticality to the sky.
Okay.
Especially when you're talking about from the horizon all the way up to the zenith. You're going to see a lot of color bouncing around, and the vertical brush strokes really help to give that feeling. So see, I don't know if this is showing up well, but the tone under it is kind of almost a little bit of it's very subtle, but it's almost like a little bit of a purpley gray, and that's from the Portland gray showing through.
Oh, okay.
So I think it gives a very nice color harmony. I'll get in a little bit closer here. Maybe it'll show up better. But, those are very subtle differences, but they're very important to give that push-pull. A warm and a cool of the same value bouncing around there in the sky.
Terrific. Hello, Netherlands. You have a world famous artist, George Van Hook, is watching you, Mary. No pressure.
Hi, George. No comments from the peanut gallery, please.
George is the most positive man you'll ever meet in your life. He's so fun.
Well, we like positive.
Yeah.
Especially when we're doing a demo. Okay, so here at the horizon line, again, I don't have a lot of paint on my brush at this point. We're looking for very subtle changes. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more of that highlight in here.
It would be real tempting to overdo that too, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm really good at that. It's that If a little is good, a lot is better.
Yeah.
But then I have to keep reminding myself that less is more.
Yeah. Well, as CW Monday would say, you can only have one star in your painting.
Well, that's right. Or as John Burton likes to call it, your diva.
Your diva.
Yeah, I like that. I'm like, what's your diva, right? So right here, my diva is kind of right around in here with that light bouncing around. So now I'm going to put a little bit of that light, bouncing so that it looks like it's rain coming from here. Very, very subtle. So how much time do we have left, Eric?
Oh, you got 5 minutes. I'll give you 5.
Okay, I'm gonna demo. Okay, I'm gonna put this down, but you guys get the feel of that phthalo with the transparent red oxide. So now I've just got I did this at the last minute.
You're very well prepared. We're all very impressed. We're all giving you thumbs up and hearts.
Okay.
Ooh la la.
So this was an older beach painting, and I just pulled it out yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? This is a little hazy. It's got a lot of wax in here and everything. But I'm like, it just wasn't lighting my flame.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to scumble it and see where it takes it. So I'm going to scumble this with the same orangey tone that I did on that marsh scene at the very beginning.
Somebody's going, no, don't ruin it. That's Joe. Joe Aubrey said that.
Hey, guts.
Okay, everybody's asking me to ask you to do a video.
Oh, well, thank you. I would love to do a video.
All right. This is how things get done here. We'll just, okay, it's a deal.
Well, we like it. Eric, you're the man. Okay. So, obviously this is a pretty garish tone. That's
all right. We're anxious to see it. You got to pull it off in 4 minutes, though.
Okay, I'm there.
Wow, that's scary.
Isn't it? It's so much fun.
Yeah. Well, I know we all get a little invested in our paintings, don't we?
We do.
Elaine Miller says, gasp.
Okay.
Hansen says he wants to attend one of your workshops. They're on your website, I'm sure, which is marygarrishfineart.com.
Well, yeah, it's a little thin right now because we're not sure, with all this COVID, when they're all going to start. I'm supposed to teach a workshop before Plein Air Roanoke in the middle of May. I think it's the 16th and 17th. And then I'm teaching a workshop in northern Georgia through Art Loft, which is on the website. And I'm doing that middle of March if things go. Okay, see, I'm already liking that.
Wow, what a difference. Just so quickly, transformational. It just brings the light in.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, you can almost, feel the humidity.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about that. It's I took a painting that I was like, just wasn't really feeling it. And now I can wipe out here and there, rediscover.
Wow.
Come back tomorrow,
I love it. It's done. I mean, that quickly. Mary, we have our first visitor from Palestine.
Oh, wonderful.
Durar Bakri. Welcome, Durar. Okay. Well, why don't you come back on camera, or do you have more to do on that? You got to lay a little more color into that?
No, I think I'm just going to leave that very heavy atmospheric feel.
Okay, I think we should do an auction for that painting. Do I hear? I won't embarrass you. You'll have so many people bidding. We don't want to make them fight for it. Mary, you are an excellent teacher.
Well, thank you.
And we have learned a lot today. The biggest thing is have no fear.
Yes, have no fear.
Yeah, Chewy even liked it. Chewy's like, what is she doing over there? We could use Chewy to mop up the paint.
Oh, there you go. It looks like she'd be a very good one. Nice and fuzzy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mary, what will we find on your website if we go there and poke around?
Basically just what I've mentioned. It's plein air, Roanoke, going to do a 2-day workshop there, and then middle of March in northern Georgia from the Art Loft Gallery. All that should be on the website. And hopefully, sometime in the future when we're all vaccinated, there'll be some overseas workshops too, which are my favorite things.
And where can we buy your paintings?
That's on the website also. John M. Stringer Gallery in Vero Beach, the Karen Hewitt in Charleston, and right now those are my 2 main galleries.
Great, outstanding. Okay, and they're listed on the website. Mary, thank you so much. Everybody, thumbs up, applause, and shares for Mary Garrish. Mary, you're a rock star. Thank you for doing this. I want to remind everybody to go search Plein Air Podcast with Mary's name and listen to that, because there's a fascinating story of how she got here and what she used to do, which is pretty cool. So you have to go there to find it. Mary, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
All right. Our guest today was Mary Garrish. I'm Eric Rhoads from Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine. We have been here 293 days, and the goal is to keep you feeling good about yourself. Remember, fear causes poor health. Fear is stress. Stress is poor health. We don't want that in our lives. So we have to distract ourselves and make ourselves feel good, go out of our way to make ourselves feel good. And that's why I wanted to do this for you 293 days in a row, times 2, because we're doing the 3 p.m.s as well with the video samples. You find all of this Facebook and YouTube. Just search Streamline Art. Thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to follow me, please. It's on Instagram or Facebook. Facebook is a little more difficult because, well, they limit you to so many friends, but you can follow me, Eric Rhoads, on Instagram or Facebook, and have a terrific day. Keep your head in the game, stay positive, and we will see you